Hello. Today is 9:23 p.m. Tuesday, September 11th, 2012. I purchased myself a bottle of wine. Yay! It's a Caveat Collection Merlot of 2010, imported from Italy. It's a $10 bottle of wine. Hopefully Eddie will see this. We watch this. Uh, cheers. It was a long day. A lot was accomplished today. After I left from my previous video, I ended up doing a lot more than what I planned out to do. Um, just one moment. I did a little bit of networking today, and what I did today was there was a gentleman that works at Starbucks, uh, and I talked to him I think a few months ago and we had a conversation. He seems like a lighthearted, self-motivated, self-everything. Just he's concerned about bettering himself. Um, and I saw him today, and I kind of just gave him some of my ideas and what I was planning on doing, and we exchanged some ideas. And once I get a little bit more organized here and get some things on the website going, then I want to sit down with him and see if there's something he would like to assist me with in terms of my campaign and my campaign. So I have his business card. It seems very professional. It's a very nice business card. It lists here wealth management, insurance, retirement planning, agent, director, sales representative, and it lists personal service, life, estate planning, retirement income, college expenses, investment, LTCI, DI, homeowner insurance, business service, medical insurance, 401k, SEP, simple building, business liability, WC, ocean marine, commercial auto, professional liability, E&O, event insurance, SBA loan. So it seems like if I'm understanding this correctly, he seems to be very certified in a lot of different things, or at least some of these things require certifications and licenses to sell, unless he does consulting. I'm not sure. Um, and then the carrier lists all these different companies that I assume he's partnered up with, and they finance or they provide the money for these various products that he offers to various people. At the same time, I didn't share this, but I ended up getting the personal card of somebody from the state of New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission, so I can use that as a way to get one-on-one assistance if I have some questions that arise as everything from this booklet, the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission Compliance Manual for Candidates, which has some very interesting information that I plan to use as a reference for my campaign. At the same time, for the educational purposes of educating the citizens. Um, at the same time, I started reading it. I mean, I get the basic gist of it. There's a lot of emphasis on this and these various political committees and blah 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 blah. And all I'm concerned about is my own little campaign that I plan on running, and whatever. Uh, I don't foresee all these. I have some ideas. If I do raise a good amount of money of some of the things that I would like to do, I would like to seek out the Dalai Lama to come and speak to the people. Yeah, he does that. I would like to bring in some musicians. I mean, there's this one, Zoe Keaton. She's from California or Nevada, and she's just this amazing cello player, and she has her own business, and she's a self-starter, and she does everything by herself. She's just another example of a real American that relies on self-reliance, using the mind to achieve things. And at the same time, I went to my local Set Park local government, so to speak, and I got a contact of the borough clerk. He was also a student at the same high school that I went to. He was I believe, a grade under me or a grade above me. I'm not sure. but he's a pretty energetic, motivated individual, and I just would like to use him as a guiding point for me to build my flowchart of the organization of the local government for the purposes of educating, and at the same my own purposes of just simply increasing the efficiency and the productivity and reducing redundancy, as I will be examining some of the local 11 other local governments on top of the county, which if there are some not services, governments don't provide service, they serve a function. If there are some functions on the county level that are redundant as they are provided on the local level, it's just simply a waste of taxpayer money. At the same time, I'm not sure if I ever shared this, but I would like to, I'll leave that at that. Keep this simple. Um, no, there's a video I'm going to upload. It's just some of my impression of Trenton. It was what I imagined it to be. You have some great buildings, you have some great institutions of government, but at the same time, it's a rundown slum, impoverished area just filled with homeless people or just uneducated or incapable, or just out of this sheer systematic neglect of the public educational system. And it's not that, like I feel like most people on these government assistance programs that live on these government assistance programs, that there's this cycle. Um, the problem with that is, there's some people who think the solution is simply to give them money, or they're not really examining it. The solution is they need guidance, they need wisdom. They don't have the basic tools to understand what is it that they need to do. They don't even know how. They probably don't even know that they are American. I know it sounds a bit cynical and a bit negative, but the truth must be said. And if it offends people, so be it. Somebody has to say the truth, because it's a waste of taxpayer money. Like this. You ever heard this popular expression? Give a man a fish, or something along the lines of give a man a fish, he'll come back to you asking for another. Teach the man how to fish. You see, that's the difference. People think that by giving these government assistance programs, you're giving the fishing rod, but you're not teaching the person how to use the fishing rod. You're giving them this money, but they don't know what this money is. They don't know how to earn it, or they don't know how to be self-motivated or have character, or these things are been neglected in their lives. Character, conviction, motivation, confidence, self-esteem, all of that's very important. They don't need money. They need they need psychologists. They need somebody who's going to listen to their story. They need somebody who's going to be guiding them step by step, holding their hand, teaching them this quite simple life, but it, there are some complications. At the same time, I picked up some local information about, and I got a better understanding of the local government, and I see some of the problems that I don't want to speak about them, but I got some local information about these various things that were provided for the purpose of the citizens. And like usual, I've already accustomed myself to the thing that every time I go asking somebody in government for something, I get this question: why do you want to know this? Why do you want to know this? I'm a citizen. You're not there to question my desire for learning, or it's just because I'm like, it seems like I'm the only one who's doing it. You know. I've been thinking. I had this idea. Some of the profound things that I really, really believe in, not necessarily about my position that I plan to get elected for, but in terms of world stuff. I was thinking, Well, this is an idea, so nobody panic, but possibly getting some tattoos. I mean, I was just thinking that's how serious maybe my belief system, or well, that's the reason that some people get tattoos. Not necessarily maybe like young girls or they get tattoos, but I can't be wrong. I mean, the female population is slightly more emotionally in tune or more emotionally alert than the average male population, from my observations. But I was simply considering that idea because what's going to happen is, in the course of my post, I will be I will require myself to visit, you know, jails, penitentiary systems, prisons, as specified by what I want to accomplish, to redesign and restructure the whole facility to make it more productive for the prisoner population to be contributing to society. Uh, and I was thinking to myself, some of the, I don't want to disregard and curse at the prisoner population, but I need their respect, like I would need the respect of all people. Simply, see, that's what it means to be a people of, by, and for the government. Everybody has a voice, including the prisoner in jail, for whatever they did. We are a humane society where the government needs to be compassionate, but it also needs to be realistic that there are people that we just simply cannot have in our society for what they do. Some certain cases, it's a one-strike policy and you're out. Sorry, you cannot play well with others, and you don't belong with us. Um, Unfortunately, that's how it needs to be. And at the same time, I still want to represent their interests, regardless of if I'm responsible for them being there as a result of my litigation. Um, I still have a responsibility to them to represent them. They have limited rights, but they still have rights. And they don't have the right of privacy. They still have the first fundamental constitutional right of the right of expression, the right of free speech, and I still expect them to petition the government and participate in the government to the best of their ability, as they will be required to be contributing to society in whatever means, methods that or ideas that will arise in the process of me doing all this. Um, so in order for me to get their respect, as some prisoners, as some gang members, they tattoo parts of their body to as a strong message of conviction. And the average person in our American society doesn't have the conviction, but when you have a prisoner who does violent things or for whatever reason has conviction, there's slightly a problem there. So they're not simply idiots per se. Um, they've just been taught differently, and they had to adapt to a lifestyle from whatever age just to be able to survive. And that's the result of them, why they're like that. That's the result of gangs. Gangs don't just magically appear. The gangs appeared because there were young people who had parents who were absent, and you had older people who took advantage of that fact, and they brought them into this organization, and they taught them all these things, and they gave them the basic functions of a family. They gave them a support system, they gave them protection, they gave them food and money, and they gave them a purpose. And You expect a person like that to at that point be, you expect to tell a person like that to somehow, you just simply need to go to college. No, they, where they're coming from underprivileged situations. The way that we think about certain people in our society needs to change. Uh, Simply put, just the way that I think most people view other people. It's like they just lack the education to understand that we have various different degrees of person in our society for various degree and reasons. And for the majority of the cases, it simply arises as of how they were raised, and if they had good parents, if they had great parents, if they had no parents. I have very little doubt that people in our society who had great parents are having some kind of a doubt in their life and what they're doing, or having a hard time finding success or wealth or happiness, or etc., etc. And that's the difference between, I guess, the wealthier members of our society and the more average American members of our society, is because they had great parents who took the extra time to learn something more for themselves, or who took the extra time to spend 10 minutes, 30, 20 minutes to do extra work, as opposed to the average person is, well, it's 5 p.m., it's time to go home, I'm no longer getting paid. So that kind of mentality certainly needs to get changed, certainly in government and society, and I believe as soon as that is changed in government, then the people themselves are going to begin to change themselves, because it's education. We are we are what we are today because of what we know and the experiences we had, and the decisions we made during those experiences were based off what we knew at the time to be the best decision, or at least we wanted it to be the best decision for ourselves when we made that decision, either consciously or unconsciously. I still haven't really properly figured out the best way for me to introduce myself when I would begin to do door to door. It's a bit complicated. I wasn't sure. I'm still unsure of how I should do it, because I cannot say the exact same thing to every single person, because, or can I? I don't know. That's where I have some doubt. Where I plan to address that, because then I don't want to be a robot. I don't want to be saying the exact same thing all over again. I would like to say something based on what I feel the person would want to hear, but I don't want to not see that's the problem. Want to hear, not necessarily need to hear. And they need to hear all these different things. There's, the citizenry needs to awaken, because I don't simply need them or want them to simply vote for me. I will rely on their assistance to accomplish all these different things I feel it is necessary to accomplish to make a better society. Simply me convincing people that I'm important to vote for seems a bit on the shallow end of things, I think, because, at one time, I guess realistically, yeah, if when I'm in office, I don't want to be bothered all the time. But it's not. But see, I am not being bothered. I mean, that's their job. I mean, and that's not their job. That's their responsibility, and that's part of their being an American, being a citizen, to call me up and ask me a question, to call me up or send me an email and tell me all this information, or to go on the campaign website, or to go into some of the videos that I might be doing, and to share all this information. That's part of, like, my responsibility, and I have to take all that information and I have to make the best possible argument for them to litigate on their behalves. with other members of the assembly and then other members of the Senate. So I will have to be talking with 79 other members in my particular house. So I will have to make arguments and one by one systematically visit each person and convince to them using argument, using reason, how that it is important that they need to vote on this piece of legislation. And then once that is complete, I need to go to the Senate and again litigate to them how important this piece of legislation is, how important this piece of legislation is, and I need to talk to 40 people, and then I need to go to the governor and I need to talk to him and tell him how important and provide him reason and argument and how important it is for him to sign this piece of legislation and to turn it into law. That's the simple. It's quite simple, but it's not as it's quite time consuming. Um, I mean, it's simple, but it requires a lot of time. I would need to spend 1 hour, 2 hours with each individual member of my assembly, and then probably another hour or two with each member of my Senate, and then I have to get in touch with and sit down with the governor, and he has his own thing happening, and everybody else is at some point trying to pass their own legislation. At the same time, we have some corrupt people passing some negative legislation or some legislation with loopholes that they will later exploit to put money into their pocket. So I need to be on top of that. The office objectives are going to be quite demanding, and I am planning to allocate 60 hours of a week to work on it. I was talking to my friend Oleg, and I suggested to him that I kind of suspect that some of the people in our office, they work maybe 20 hours a week. It just seems that way. And somewhere between all of that, I mean, a part of me kind of wants for myself to find somebody for myself, you know? It's not a good idea to be alone, to be without love. Love is a very important part of being a human being, I guess. Uh, to have a partner. My concern is I am not concerned about my team or my ability to organize and to manage a team. My concern is that not all the citizens are going to take this information as important as they need to, and that's when I'm afraid I'll need to sacrifice a lot of my blood. I just, but it needs to be done reasonably and cautiously, because if I simply just knock on their door for 5 hours, and while they have no interest in listening to me, then I need to, I've ultimately scared them away, and getting them back will be really hard. And I have a lot to say to all these people. There's a lot that I would love to say to all these people. So I need to say, I don't know, very little, I guess, or concise bits of information. That is why I contacted my logics teacher, professor, to see if he could assist me on some certain aspects of this, and my guidance counselor, who helped me get, not necessarily helped me, but gave me the information I needed to know to get myself certified within the state of New Jersey to become a substitute teacher. I'm quite exhausted though. I didn't sleep very well last night. I think I went to sleep at 5 and I woke up at 7 and then I only got out of bed at 7:30 because I was so exhausted. I think bringing Zoe Keating, the cello player, the one woman cello orchestra player. I'll write her name in my description in case somebody wants to check it out. It's very interesting, and she does everything by herself. She's a self-starter. This is her own operation, and she makes a living off this. It's quite inspirational and motivating to, I would imagine, to a lot of people. That people, I think, need to see people like that to let them know that things like this are possible, no matter what age you are. At the same time, even if you're 50, if you're 60 years old, you can change your life around. You just need to apply yourself. And I'm afraid that some people in their 50s and 60s are already given up. And I don't know. I hate to insult anyone, but what kind of life is that to give up? No, don't give up. You give up is when you die. We keep on moving forwards. We keep on moving forwards, but consciously, not keeping your head down and avoiding some complicated things. Well, yeah, I mean, what I plan to do is very complicated, and I don't expect people to be very involved in all of it, but I expect people to be involved in sending my message, to being, I expect to find people who will send my message to other people. Now, I was planning to do this door-to-door thing by myself, but now I see realistically that it's possible for me to have a team, like I could organize a whole thing of it and get people to do it with me, so I'm not alone when I'm doing it just by myself, just like this minstrel with the way I told my friend about it was a minstrel with a crowd of few. A minstrel was a type of a profession back in the Middle Ages era, and their profession was they were a musician. They were a traveling musician. They were like a barb, a B-A-R-B, and they would just travel around and they would sing and they would play music. Well, like they question my oversimplification of my objectives, so to speak. Not necessarily. I mean, you have people on YouTube. If you check out some of my favorite videos that I've favorited, I mean, you have some of these. There was this one video of one girl, what she did with that educational video about the sufferings of women in the world, not necessarily America. Though you question when there is Women's Day, and the man asks, "Why isn't there Man's Day?" And the woman replies, "Every day is Man's Day." I'm sad to see, I'm not sure, but Hillary Clinton might be leaving after November, regardless if Obama is reelected or not. And it's important for me to have some sort of a stance on the presidency, because if I, and an educated stance, unfortunately, because if I support Obama, people who support Romney are not going to want to listen to what I have to say. If I support Romney, the people who support Obama are not going to listen to what I have to say. So I don't know what to do. I have to be neutral about it in terms of my representation of the people. It cannot be clouded by the Republican and the Democratic agenda, which I view as unpatriotic and un-American, as it's you're either American and you understand the principles of the Constitution, or you are not. And the idea of having your allegiance to a party as opposed to having your allegiance to the country is that's where the problem is. It's flawed logic. It's like in the local county and state government where on the local level the police officer are hired by the local government, yet the police officer, no matter where they are, hired by who they are the enforcers of the US Constitution and the state constitution. But more importantly, the US Constitution. They are the enforcers. They are the law enforcers of the US Constitution. But in like today's society, we simply just haven't addressed the issues of criminality or the criminal mind, losing the basic understanding that they are enforcers of the U.S. Constitution. They take an oath to defend the U.S. Constitution, yet they hold an allegiance to a union, to the local government, allegiance to the county government, allegiance to the state government. No, they hold allegiance to the U.S. Constitution. And I think the young people of today, when they after they graduate high school, maybe after they graduate college, after they kind of live a little bit, they see that none of this adds up. They're taught all these great things, and yet they look at government today and they say to themselves, why are you teaching me this? But the reality of the situation is this. I think it's a slap in the face to the young people. At the same time, I'll keep it at that. A thought also occurred that maybe some of the elderly people are going to be uneducated about how to use a computer, how to access a website. It might be part of my requirement when I will be going door to door to have maybe possibly a computer with me, with a wife, a mobile Wi-Fi connection, so I can connect to the internet and just show them various things, that various educational tools that I plan to have on my campaign website. At the same time, I'm now thinking if it's reasonable for me to share my emotional concerns or to keep a private memoir. I think it might be reasonable for me, yet given the technology, to keep it here on this channel. Some of my emotional concerns that may arise through the whole process of this. At the same time, I need to consider the possibility of, if I do not get elected, what will I do? I will be disappointed. But what will I do next? So I need to consider all these things. Just for the sake of having a a contingency plan for every possible outcome, just like how the U.S. military and the U.S. Department of Defense has a contingency plan for most possible scenarios that may arise in world politics or world affairs that might endanger the welfare of the country and the people of the United States of America. At the same time, it's worth noting that I should contact or get in contact with possibly um, some of the Wall Street protesters and see if I could use them as my vessel for sending my message, because I would need as many people as possible to be the vessel to send out my message. I would need their bodies, their mouths, their legs, and their hands, but my words and my writings to be what will be coming out of their mouths and what will be coming out of their character and their eyes. I recall when I was in Bergen Community College, there was this leadership seminar to teach you how to be a leader, and I regret I never took it. It was supposed to be a weekend retreat to somewhere, and it was supposed to be a seminar to educate you and to give you the skills and to be a leader through various exercises and interactions. Um, I regret I did not take it, but having said that, if anybody ever comes across something like that, capitalize on everything that if somebody young here is watching this, capitalize on everything, not necessarily capitalize for you yourself getting some sort of a monetary or physical gain from the experience or the opportunity that life, through the process of going to school, going to college, going to university, having a job and then having a different job and moving up by having these sorts of jobs in life and gathering the skill set and the confidence to at one point you having the expertise to say to the employer, listen, I'm very good at what I do. This is what I want you to pay me. It's very reasonable. I work very hard and set forth. Basically, what I mean to say is it is realistic advice that it is important that for people to realize how much they're worth when they are going to be getting themselves employed based on what they know and what they can offer to the business or organization, or in my case, government. And it's very reasonable what my salary would be if I would be elected. It's like I would have a decent life on that. Uh, I'm looking forward to some of the work from Oliver. Hopefully everything's going to go as planned and there's going to be no hiccups and projected deadlines, and there's going to be no stalling, not necessarily stalling because he does not want to work, but because of schooling or job would impede on his ability to help me and assist me with this endeavor. It's quite serious. And I shared with him in my email that doing so, and if it resulting to the expectation that I would demand it to be, uh, I have very little um, concern that he or his friend who's going to be helping him would have trouble in life finding work or finding means to a living, because the amount of educational wisdom that would result from doing this great project, not necessarily, I might say the word project might not be mm, the word I'm looking for, because it might diminish the importance of this, as I feel and I need it to be very, very important. This is a very important decision in my life that I'm committing myself to for the benefit of the people, to remind them that we have a government of by and for the people. At the same time, I want to serve as a symbol for others to do this, and wherever. I guess I'll go over it. I'm exhausted, but if you're still here, this is going to be an exhaustive video upload. Uh, this is the piece of paper. You only need to be 18 years old to be a council member, a board of education council member, a mayor of a city or town in the state of New Jersey. Only 18 years old. How many 18-year-olds are capable to do something like that today? And there are no requirements for a certain profession. And the reason being, I feel for it to be that way, that there's no requirement for you to have certain degree or experience in a certain field of life, with a geologist or a lawyer or a doctor, specifically for the reason to minimize corruption. Because if, let's say, in order to be a politician, it required you to be a teacher, then there would be scrutiny over who the educational institution would allow to enter into the educational institution in order to become a teacher. It could be they could themselves prevent certain people from going into government based on their own whatever, and that's very wrong. So 18 years old to be a representative of the county office, either to be part of the county government, and these are very high paying jobs, and that I want to reduce the amount of money that these people get, but these are very high paying jobs. These people get paid $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, and you only need to be 18 years of age. The position that I'm running for, you only need to be 21 years old. I am 27. The position of the New Jersey Senate, you only need to be 30 years. That's just a little bit more of a esteemed position in my legislation. It's two branches, the New Jersey Assembly and the New Jersey Senate. To be the governor of the state of New Jersey, you only need to be 30 years old. To be a member of the United States House of Representatives, you only need to be 25 years of age. To be a member of the United States Senate, only the age of 30. To be the president or the vice president of the United States, it says here you need to be 25 years of age as an independent candidate. 25 years of age. I'm not sure if this is correct though. But how many, I think it's 35 that you need to be. This is a requirement. But how many people 35 are capable? to be the United States president. I think many or everybody. The problem is you just need to apply yourself. That's the American dream. You apply yourself and you dedicate yourself and you apply blood, sweat, and work, and you work and you work, and that's the American dream, is the ability for you to achieve anything through hard work, diligence, conviction, and these things I'm adding to it, to making the American dream better by adding words such as conviction, character, integrity, compassion. To be the governor, you need to be a citizen for 20 years, which I'm not. House of Representative, you need to be a citizen for 7 years, which I'm not. U.S. Senate, you need to be 9 years. And for the President of the United States, um, I think this is wrong though, but you only need to be, you have to be a natural born citizen. So the highest post of government that I can ever achieve would be the United States Senate, which just seems to be on a higher level than that of a governor of a state. So I will simply just move up from the New Jersey General Assembly to the New Jersey Senate, to governor, to House of Representatives, to the United States Senate. And then from there, the UN, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. And then go to Russia and do it all over again. It sounds like a silly thing to do, but if that's that's the thing. We need people in our today's society to step up to answer these, or to do these types of things, because there's this thing I want to research and get it printed out, or at least written, that I think most people would have heard of it. Let me just Google it real quick, and you'll get it when I share it with you. You'll understand completely without a doubt of your mind what it is exactly I'm talking about. Uh, Somebody thought that. Oh, there it is. It's something like this. I think it's written in a number of different ways. Let me just read it for you. Hopefully this is going to be the one. This is a story about 4 people named Everybody, Somebody, Anybody, and Nobody. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody, and nobody did what anybody could have done. And that's what is happening in government, and that's what the people think. They think that, you know, somebody's doing something, but not unless, you know. I like this. I'm gonna favorite it. Um, yeah, I'll favorite it later. Um, so tonight I plan to sleep like a champ. I'm gonna sleep for as long as I want, and then I wake up and I resume to the answering of the comments. Um, I think I should spend a little extra time and just do some very interesting videos that would just generate me some views that I could monetize, so I can get a little bit of money from this. At the same time, I haven't been really concerned about looking to see how much I've been getting. I received a check, my last check about from Google maybe 3 months ago. But what happened was there was a video that was on my YouTube channel from Star Wars old Knights of the Old Republic, that new MMO that was launched a while ago. And because of that video, all of my monetization on my YouTube channel was compromised, and I was not generating any money. And because at the time I was not necessarily neglecting my YouTube endeavor, but I was simply taking a break and just felt lost and confused. But it's alright in life to find yourself feeling lost and confused. I think it's part of life. I think everybody undergoes that. It's just that nobody, well, maybe some people, well, some people are just scared to admit it, that sometimes they're overwhelmed by life and all this. Um, I'm sure it happens to everybody, not necessarily the average person, or I'm sure it happens to wealthy people, even leaders of industry. Like today, I was thinking when I was talking to this person, you know, was it not possible that George Washington thought to himself and and went out to seek guidance or some sort of emotional support when he doubted himself and said to himself, "I'm concerned if we fail, we all die." And certainly not something that he could share with the soldiers. He needs to keep the morale up. That's part of being a general. That's part of being a leader. You need to keep the morale up. You need to keep the people motivated and inspired, and even in times of when everything seems to be just lost. That's that's what a leader needs to do. Is keep everyone together no matter what. Even when the reality of the situation is we have a meteor coming down and planet Earth is gonna be gone. Everything that as we know it will be gone. The leader is going to be keeping everybody together till the moment that the meteor comes down. That's the responsibility of the leader. Um, Even other great people, Dr. Martin Luther King, did he find himself doubting that the, that his message would be heard? Or even when he began to spread his message, and there was only a few people that were only interested in hearing it. What about Gandhi? A person like Gandhi. Hopefully, I assume, well, maybe I should put something, I will have on my campaign some movies that were done that illustrated very well these types of people. Not necessarily, it illustrated them very well for the purpose of somebody watching them, watching any of those movies to learn about those people. Those movies did a fantastic job. I have a list of some of those movies, and I can Google them, and I will provide that. That's something that's actually an effective way for me to actually hold some sort of a congregation within the community. I could organize a movie screening. Wow, good idea. I'll write this down because it doesn't quite require a great deal of money. I would just simply need a place to do it, invite all the people, and show the movie. And from the movie, the people are going to learn. That's I know in today's society, in American society, I think we have a lot of people who believe that money wins the elections. No, money helps win the election, but and there's no winning in an election. What happens, when the Republican wins, the Democrat loses. So what? So when somebody, see, that's the problem. You can't have it that way. You cannot have it where if the Democrats win, then the Republicans are all going to be sad and disappointed with the government. And then when the Republicans win, the Democrats are disappointed with the government. No, we need to be united under one call. And we are united under one critical. It's just quite simply the people have forgotten or have never been properly educated on the fundamentals of this country. So, um, movie, movie night. I know some communities already do that in in the in the town, but and again with this movie night, this is not the first time I've had this idea. I've had this idea 3 years ago. I thought about in terms of getting myself some sort of a profession. I thought about organizing something like this for the betterment of society, at the same time asking people for donations. So for my time and for organizing it all, I had it all not necessarily all thought out, but I thought about, I would need to get chairs, I would need to have a projector, I would need to have the movie, possibly the rights to it. Not necessarily. I mean, uh, I will simply just buy it. I will not pirate it because it would open up I don't want a legal mess. Uh, Maybe possibly get a permit from the town to be able to do this and find a suitable location to do this. And just that's it. Just sit there and watch the movie, and then maybe have a conversation about these types of movies that I feel it's very important for everybody to have seen. Um, Movie night, congregation. Unfortunately, that's the reality. I think that's what I think is necessary to do to bring everybody together under one understanding, under one calling, under one American vision. At the same time, satisfy some of the emotional, psychological needs of the people. I think in today's society, a lot of people find themselves feeling lonely, especially the younger people. And that was the reason. That was part of the reason that I was doing some of the work a number of months ago, is because I wanted to address that concern that there are lonely people sitting here playing video games, and that was the idea behind me going to Bethesda Studios. I wanted to get some sort of funding so I can begin to address that. That there's people and they spend a number of hours a day just playing video games and with very little interaction, possibly with their families because of various neglect, or somebody doesn't have the time to be around because the economy or whatever, or just not necessarily younger people, but people who underwent that kind of situation, and then they got themselves in their mid-20s, early 30s, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s. We have people in all sorts of various situations, and loneliness affects everybody. Um, Part of my, again, part of my plan in terms of the educational aspects is I would like to have some. I'll just share with my first video that I really want to do. Not necessarily my first video, but my video. I would like to interview certain people of great, not necessarily great importance, but like that Zoe Keaton, self-reliant, self-starter, her own business, no help from government, no help from corporations, because she's a musician and she got no recognition for her work because she's a one-woman cello um, orchestra, and there's no high demand for something like that. If you turn on the radio today, music that she plays would never ever be there, because I hate to say, and I will have to address this personally in my own personal terms to find a way to overcome this, but it's like, or I can say simply saying the average person simply is not educated, and we need people to be educated. It's just the lack of education prevents her from having a tremendous, for having for having for her having tremendous recognition in society. People like stupid things, all these stupid, not necessarily stupid, but mm, entertainment videos that are available on YouTube. Mm, my friend is victim of that. I see him, and at the same time, you can't expect everybody to be a robot or a worker drone. Not necessarily. That's the thing. They're not necessarily. You see, people who are into, I guess, these types of mindless entertainment videos that are available on the television, the reality TV shows, these mindless videos on the YouTube. In reality, they are the worker drone because they need that so they can keep on being a worker drone. But I want to break all that. I want to not necessarily break all that, but contribute to the revolution in someone's mind that, you know what, I can do better with myself. I can do this better. I can do this. There's these tools that are available to me. I can do this. It's just that we need more great people in our society, especially in our government. Especially in our government. It's a shame that we have people in our society who commit suicide because I suspect some of those people would be capable to be great people, but because the way that our society is centered, they find it hard to assimilate or find themselves or find a place for them in life, so they resort to the unthinkable, the taking of the life. So I want to change that, or at the very least, be a symbol to the people who are like that. That there are some things that I can do. Certainly, I would, once elected, without question, I would set up some sort of a place for people like that to find themselves and, yeah, to find themselves. Because, not to say that the people who don't kill themselves are less greater, but it's hard to explain. I think it's something that some people either understand or they simply don't. It's nothing to do with their intellectual understanding or capacity or their emotional understanding or their educational backgrounds. It's just simply the way that we are genetically wired, not necessarily the way that our experiences are shaping us, but just simply out of genetics. Simply the mere fact that I have green eyes and you might have brown eyes, somebody might have blue eyes, somebody might have a different shade of green, somebody might have a different shade of blue, someone might have a gray color, somebody might have black, a different shade of brown, and the color of the hair, the texture of the hair, um, the structure of the hair in terms of the way that the skull is formed and you have your head, and the structure of the nose, and the structure of the lips, and the structure of the ears. And I've been going on for about an hour and 4 minutes now, and I'm still quite exhausted, but I find energy deep down to continue. Simply put, out of that argument, not argument, but this is a story about four people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it. but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. I'm gonna have to print this out and keep this as part of my own personal way to mirror myself. I remember I used to have a friend, uh, his name is Sean. He was from Iran, but at some point in his life, he, out of fear of people judging him incorrectly, he stopped talking about the fact that his family was from Iran because he thought that people would make fun of him or treat him differently and misunderstand him. So he began just mm, he disregarded his heritage completely, and it broke my heart that he did something like that. I mean, it's understandable if he had issues with his family, but the blood and the genetics of you and the land you come from is important regardless of your family members. It's still important to consider the genetics of your structure. So when we were 14, 15, we began weightlifting together. I think 13. He began weightlifting because he was getting bullied and he wanted to stand up for himself and he wanted to get stronger and he felt like he was fat, even though he was not necessarily fat, but he began to have, I guess, this sort of a self-image complex, and he began to uh, become heavily, not necessarily addicted, but he, he was heavily invested in running, weightlifting to an extreme. He was quite an extremist with it. There was no, well, to my standard, there was no balance. He completely dedicated it to himself, and I mean, the last time I saw him was probably the first year of college. He went to Rutgers University in the state of New Jersey, in New Brunswick, which is near the capital of the state. And he ended up joining a fraternity, and we ended up losing touch. So I have not spoken to him for at least 8 years, maybe 9 years. And there were hiccups in our friendship. Uh, when we entered high school, there were some problems, and we kind of stopped talking. I guess it's normal, but I don't know. I consider him to be, I guess, a childhood friend, even though we began our friendship when I was in fifth grade, and there were points of the friendship being strong and weak, and it's odd, I guess, but I still think of him from time to time, and I think that he suspects that I'm a madman or I'm possibly a homosexual because he's just that type of I feel like he's become this type of I don't know, this type of a person that I don't have quite a way to explain. I've not necessarily met him or know anything about him, but I don't know, because I've tried to reach out to him. I think um, he never really replied, or from what I understand, he became heavily invested in chasing of the dollar. In any case, I wish him the best, and I hope that he finds happiness if that's what he's looking for. Uh, if Because I don't believe the dollar chasing money brings happiness. I don't think Bill Gates was concerned about the dollar or Steve Jobs was concerned about the dollar. Yes, on the operational level, as they were leaders of companies, they had to have an understanding that it was important for the operation to pay their employees and set forth. But I believe that if it was necessary for them to not eat for the purpose of the benefit of their company, they would not have eaten. But I don't think they had it that bad. So, um, no, I remember he began this thing where he would post, or he would have a posting of a message, a piece of paper, that he would read every morning or every so often that would say things like, don't give up, keep on going, keep weightlifting, don't be not to insult anybody who's obese, but I think it's don't be fat, keep working out, eat healthy, and it was only there to kind of reiterate, to reinforce what he wanted to do, just in case that he would find himself questioning it or find himself in the moment of I want to give up, I'm tired, etc., etc. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. Ironically speaking, I have the news article, and I've been looking at it from time to time as I've been speaking of that woman who's been living outside the White House for 22 or 32 years, just simply sending the message that nuclear proliferation is wrong and that the White House needs to be responsible for finding a solution to it. I don't think that's the way that she sends out her message, but I think taking her message into account with my goal, my objective, it is very possible with education. It's just simply having an educated society. If you have an educated society, people are less likely prone to resort to violence to solve disputes and are able to have an argument and are intellectually capable enough to say, let's agree to disagree. I don't know if anybody has ever heard that, but it's I've heard that before. Let's agree to disagree when conflicting viewpoints are struck and both parties are unable to come up with a compromise in their arguments, and to simply not continue this argument and get angry, and to kind of, as a friendly gesture, it's said in today's society. And I wonder how many people are using that. Well, the tattoos that I just wanted to share the idea in my head that I had the imagination. This is how I imagined it to be, that I would be in the prison and in the jail system, walking around, getting a tour, examining it, studying it, investigating it to the best of my ability, examining every little detail of it to see how we can reduce the cost of it. And I just imagine walking through the cells, and that some of the people might come out and they might have just like their shorts and like a built muscle. It's I think the most prisoners are quite physically built because they just constantly work out because they have so much time and their push-ups, pull-ups, and they have this a gym and they're always working out. So I don't know. I just my imaginations from movies or little documentaries about the prison populations or etc. But so tattooing is a very popular thing to do as after a while of sitting by yourself, you really become to understand who you are. And understanding who you are will result in you possibly tattooing on you what it is that you are to let other people know what you are without the use of conversation, just by simply looking at somebody, examining their tattoos, and establishing the rank of that person within the population of the prison or within the criminal organizations that operate within the prison, or their philosophical viewpoints on life and death, and the like. So my imagination was that some of the prisoners would say something, or and I imagined simply just taking off my shirt and having this gallery of ideas, these positive ideas all over my body, and having this person examine all of them and coming to a non-verbal agreement simply based on eye contact, where he would possibly nod and give me the respect that I'm not here to and I guess I'm not here to I guess I'm not a tourist. I understand what's happening I have an understanding, simply that he would understand that I understand. On why he's here, what is this that's happening, these guards, this system, this life, how he got there, etc. Just simply that, and that was my imagination in my head. It might seem a bit foolish to some people on the realistic level, but imagination is quite powerful. And without imagination, we would not have what we have today in our society. The inventions we have today are a result of somebody else's imagination, of somebody else's creativity, to think outside the box and to think differently and to take what they see and what they think and uh, in their mind and to take it out and put it out into whatever literature, inventions, philosophy. I mean, the American government system is based on Greek philosophy. Aristotle, I believe, or Socrates, they were the founders of the modern republic, so to speak. The idea of law, if that law must be just, and it must something along those lines. I'm not too I guess I studied this, but I don't recall. I can't access that information. Maybe, and I've thought about it. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that important to just study other great philosophers, as I would like to be my own great philosopher, and out of my own selfish need to disregard their work to make my work more important. I guess that could make sense. It's very reasonable. I hope the quality is okay. It's quite late. I don't think I've ever done a video this long. Well, I did with the reading of the Citizen's Almanac, but that was a reading. This is just simply me taking ideas in my head and sequencing of the letters to create words, to create sentences. I had this. I guess we had a debate, but they didn't take it as seriously as I wanted them to take. But we had a debate about the difference between creation and invention. Now, I believe, if you Google this, uh, Googling this would find information that agrees with my friends who I was arguing with. But because I think on my own, and because in this regard, creation and invention, I think, is not quite, there's not quite a fact of there's not an established fact. Because traditionalists, I mean, when people think some people, when they think creation, they think of God. They think God created all of this. Um, at the same time, some people think that creation is, um, I guess this mouse pad. This is a mouse on my netbook. Um, and I was arguing that all of it is an invention. But at the same time, later, I thought to myself, what is a baby? When a child is conceptualized within the womb of a woman, is that an invention or is that a creation? I think that is a creation, but I don't know, because we are all carbon-based organisms. We're based off carbon. The human organism is made up of carbon, from what I understand. So, I was, you know what? I'm exhausted right now. I'm gonna go. I'm going to title this as a personal chat. If you've watched it up to this point, I want you to pat yourself on the back. Uh, it's 10:43 p.m. Tuesday, September 11th, 2012. I wanted to do a video talking about September 11th, but I've just been busy with all this stuff, so I guess that's a good thing, because the things that I'm working on right now seem to be superseding the importance of this YouTube channel, but at the same time, I'm doing the best that I could to bring something to the table in terms of the video content. Uh, I hope that's agreeable. Um, Even though that I would like to be doing more with my YouTube channel, but there will be, once the campaign gets launched. I plan to use my personal YouTube channel, A Guy Named Oleg, as just a way to relax and just to talk about some simple things and simple philosophy and simple ideas, and maybe possibly share some emotional concerns and just some moments of doubt, if I decide that keeping a personal memoir is not. It's not simply not that I'm completely opposed by it, but because of the technologies available, simply keeping a video up for someone's immediate interpretation and review might be more sufficient than simply reading the memoirs years down the road. I don't know. I mean, I'm concerned about the information that I will be sharing will be of benefit to whoever. Yet I'm still reserved about, yet I still reserve a concern about sharing everything, because then the opposition could easily take advantage of me if I gain momentum, and I would be a scapegoat. Just simply put, I guess it's okay when in political office you would have people that would discredit somebody in office if they feel that person to be of incompetence, of corruption, of greed. But I'm just trying to predict if my opposition is honestly going to be challenging me and attempting to discredit me and to defraud my character. I would I don't know how I would feel, simply put, because of who I am and what I have done. I would be I don't know how I would feel. I don't know how I would react. I think the best choice at that point, once I find out about it, is to simply get a bottle of wine and find a quiet place for me to be, and simply just get myself drunk and sleep on it. And then, because I would just be in a moment of just sheer confusion about the integrity of these individuals who are attempting to seek office. If they were to dare challenge my character, if they were to dare challenge my integrity, my commitment, my honesty, my ideas that came from my head, as opposed to the ideas that they have that came from their political affiliation or their political party, and not the ideas of the framers of the Constitution and the basic American ideals, I would be insulted, and my I think my entire organization would feel insulted, and I just don't see how I would be able to properly address something simply to go back and to then discredit them as they are discrediting me would be what? That would be a waste of everybody's time. That's not a solution. I would need to have a proper, reasonable way to deal with that, and for the moment, present being, I at least don't have a solution to that. And maybe I will find a solution to that, but simply as at the same time ignoring it is also questionable, because I'm not, maybe if I just, maybe simply put, I ignore it, just like how I might ignore some of the negative, completely negative comments that I received doing YouTube. You know, no offense intended to anybody by the organization of these words, but simply put, I received some comments of kill yourself, faggot. That's terrible. That's questionable. On the uh, it's question. You have to question what this person is going to be doing with their lives, and what is it exactly? Are they going to be in charge of something serious? Are they going to be managing credit cards? Are they going to be dealing with money? Because this is not a person that I would trust with anything. Um, and this is a part of our, unfortunately, this is a part of our population, that we have members of our population who are severely, it's not their fault, but they've been severely neglected by whoever, the family, the system, the people, that they've just simply, or just simply they're sociopaths, or they're just confused. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I want to go. It's 1 hour and 26 minutes. Why Charlie came here, let me film him a little bit. Let me see if you can see him. Hey, Charlie. Charlie, look. Don't be scared. Okay. So, okay. I'm gonna just upload this video and then upload another video. Have a good night, as I'm gonna be going to sleep after I set the uploads for the videos. Adios.